Classifications such as Black and African American are used to erase your nationality and ancestral history. Such terms have no value or protection in law because they are not connected to a nation. American Indians have been misclassified as Black, colored, mulatto, Negro, and their descendants have little knowledge of their Indian connection. Being an American Indian is your race. It's up to you to discover your tribe. That is your nationality. Although many Indian tribes did not consider strict blood descent the only way to determine if a person was a member of a tribe, the Dawes Commission did. Many Black Indian freedmen, various tribes of enslaved Indian slaves of other Indian tribes who were freed after the Civil War were kept off of the rolls as members of tribes, although they were emancipated after the war and, according to the peace treaties with the United States, to be given full membership in the appropriate tribes in which they were held. Contrary to what other earlier European sources will tell you, freedmen were of mixed race ancestry from various enslaved tribes of America, were reclassified and recorded as colored by the complexion of their skin, and were enslaved by many of the mixed-race European Indians who could claim being white and Indian as long as they had 1/16th of Indian blood or less, and label any Indian that didn't share their same skin color as Negro, colored, or mulatto, which would totally rid them of any land and benefits that they were obligated to have. The Dawes Commission enrolled them in separate freedmen roles rather than letting them identify as blood Indian. What is genealogy? Genealogy is the line of descent, pedigree, descent tracing of a family. Who are American Indians? The Aboriginal inhabitants of North America. How? Start your genealogical research with yourself. Do not begin genealogical research in Indian records, for this can most often be the wrong approach. Instead, begin research in current rather than historic records. If an individual is not currently a member of a federally recognized tribe, band, or group, research should begin in non-Indian records or other public records, such as those records maintained by the state and local governments, churches, and schools. Individuals should find all the information they can about their parents, grandparents, and more distant ancestors and write such information down. The most important information is vital statistics, including ancestral names, dates of birth, marriages or divorces, and death, the places where ancestors were born, lived, married, and died. During such research, the goal, especially for tribal membership purposes, is to establish and document the relationships of Indian ancestors and to identify the Indian tribe with which their ancestor may have been affiliated. Blood tests and DNA tests will not help an individual document his or her descent from a specific federally recognized tribe or tribal community. The BIA does not regulate businesses that perform such tests and does not validate their findings nor accept their results as proof that an individual possesses blood quantum from a particular tribe. The only value blood tests and DNA tests hold for persons trying to trace ancestry to a particular tribe is that testing, if the tribe accepts it, can establish if an individual is biologically related to a tribal member. Check directly with the tribe you are seeking to enroll to find out if they will accept a blood DNA test as a part of its enrollment application process. Where? At home. The first place to begin genealogical research is at home. Valuable information can be found in family Bibles, newspaper clippings, military certificates, birth and death certificates, marriage licenses, diaries, letters, scrapbooks, backs of pictures, and baby books. Relatives, particularly older ones, are another good source of information. Persons doing this research should visit or write family members who may have the genealogical information that they are seeking. Someone else in your family may also be working on a family history. Interview the ancestors, living relatives, and friends. Ask them if they have certificates, family Bibles, obituaries, diaries,
letters, or other sources, which may contain birth, marriage, or death information in places. Ask them to tell you where the person lived at different times in his or her life. To trace any Indian blood, you need to clearly establish your connection generation by generation to the Indian ancestry. This would include interviewing family members, checking state and federal census records, probate records, birth, marriage, and death records, tombstones, obituaries, and other records that will pertain to the time period and geographic location of the ancestors. Do some online checks to see if you can find others researching the same families. You need to place your Indian ancestors into an area where Cherokee Indians lived or other tribes and find them interacting with others of that ancestry. Not all people with Indian ancestry identify themselves as Indians, and this may add some difficulty to proving your heritage. You should read state and local histories for the places where they lived. Where, on county and state level, it is often useful to check school, church, and county courthouse records for information. Researchers should not limit the scope of their research to birth, death, and marriage records. Historical and genealogical information can be found in other civil records at the county courthouse, such as deeds, wills, land, or other property conveyances. Write to the Bureau of Vital Statistics, usually in the state capital, to request copies of birth, death, and marriage certificates or request divorce decrees. Include the name of the individual, date, and place of birth and your relationship to that person. State governments did not keep birth and death records until the turn of the century, about 1890 to 1915. So searches in the state records for ancestors who were born or died before that time may be limited. Blood tests and DNA tests will not help an individual document his or her descent from a specific federally recognized tribe or tribal community. The BIA does not regulate businesses that perform such tests and does not validate their findings nor accept their results as proof that an individual possesses blood quantum from a particular tribe. The only value blood tests and DNA tests hold for persons trying to trace ancestry to a particular tribe is that testing, if the tribe accepts it, can establish if an individual is biologically related to a tribal member. Check directly with the tribe you are seeking to enroll to find out if it will accept a blood test or DNA test as a part of its enrollment application process. Where? In public libraries and other repositories. Visiting the local library is a good starting point for gathering facts about Indians and Indian tribes. A wealth of information exists concerning the history of Indian tribes, tribal cultures, and historical tribal territories. The migration patterns. Most libraries also have books on how to do genealogical research. The genealogical research books give a good understanding of what standard research techniques to use. Researchers can also contact genealogical organizations, historical societies, and other private institutions. For example, the Family History Centers are branch offices of the Family History Library of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This private institution contains a large collection of genealogical documents relating to Indians that may be useful in research. Again, blood tests and DNA tests will not help an individual document his or her descent from a specific federally recognized tribe or tribal community. Where, on the federal level, the National Archives and Records Administration in Washington, D.C. has records of genealogical value. The federal government took the census every 10 years since 1790 and is a very good source of information for individuals who are trying to identify their ancestors, Census records from 1790 to 1920 are available on microfilm in the National Archives regional branches. 17 branch offices are in major metropolitan areas throughout the country. The National Archives also has military and service related records, passenger arrival records, and other records of value to persons involved in genealogical research. A copy of the free leaflet Genealogical Records in the National Archives is available upon request. The National Archives has various publications for sale. The archives have microfilmed all censuses. Individuals can purchase copies of the microfilm rolls and associated genealogical materials. Various rolls of microfilm are available for rental at the National Archives. At some point in research, the researcher will have identified the tribal affiliation of one's ancestors. Now it's time to begin research in the records about American Indians. The Native American collection at the National Archives includes special censuses, school records, and allotment records. For more information concerning the special censuses of various tribes in the National Archives offers, go there. Where on the federal level BIA offices? If your ancestors had land in trust or went through probate, the BIA field offices in selected areas throughout the United States may have some records concerning Indian ancestry. However, the BIA field offices do not maintain current or historic records of all individuals who possess some degree of Indian blood. The records of the BIA are current rather than historic tribal membership enrollment lists. These lists, commonly called rolls, do not have supporting documentation such as birth certificates for each tribal member listed. The BIA created these rolls while the BIA maintained tribal membership rolls. The BIA no longer has extensive involvement in tribal membership. Current federal policy and case law limits the involvement of the BIA in tribal membership matters unless mandated by congressional legislation or is required by the tribe's governing document or otherwise requested by the tribe. When you contact a BIA field office, be prepared to give the name of the tribe, the names and birth dates of the ancestors and relationships. You must provide specific information, otherwise field offices probably cannot provide the information you're looking for. Follow the paper trail. Collect and gather ancestor documents. Census records, birth certificates, marriage, divorce certificates, military certificates, death certificates, diaries, letters, family Bibles, newspaper clippings, deeds, wills, tribal rolls. Start your genealogy journey. Learn your family history. These are alternative tribal rolls that most people may not know about. During the period of Indian removal beginning in 1831, extensive records were generated through the turn of the century when southeastern Indians were uprooted from their homelands in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. They were taken west of the Mississippi River in what is now Oklahoma. These records relate to treaties, trade, land claims, removal to Oklahoma, allotments, military affairs, military service, and pensions, trust funds, and other activities. While the vast majority reference southeastern tribes, there are some which pertain to the western tribes as well. Native American rolls are viewed by many as one of the most useful resources for researching your Native American Indian ancestors. However, until you know where your ancestors resided, the rolls will be of no value to you. Who are your ancestors? Where are they from?